Aloha trustees. Thank you for the opportunity. I wanted to talk about sustainability and in relationship to the 30-minute telescope and astronomy in general. Joseph Stiglitz is Nobel Prize-winning economist, said that in order for a project to be sustainable, it needs to be socially, environmentally, and economically sustainable. So if we look at the 30-meter telescope in astronomy in general, socially, you know, and we're talking about the Big Island specifically, I'm from the Big Island. Socially, the Big Island has the lowest median family income. And we all know that education is the great equalizer. The 30-meter telescope is putting $1 million a year into education. And there's this side benefits when they go to the schools and stuff like that. Environmentally, we all know what the plans say, and they do a good job of taking care of the environment. But the 30-meter telescope themselves are going to put in $1 million a year come first light. And that'll go to help Office of Mauna Kea take care of the mountain. Economically, you know, depending on tourism and the military, it's just too narrow. The telescope industry is like $50-something million annually. And this is all free money because this is not our tax money going into it. It's money coming from the outside in. Now the question is, if we don't have that, who's going to do it? The government cannot do it. They're not going to. Are they going to tax us to do it? That's not going to happen. Are you folks going to do it? You can't afford to do it yourself. So, I think yesterday I went to a Kamehameha School's advisory council meeting, and one of the persons said the problem about dreaming small is that your dream might come true. See, the astronomy industry actually gives our people a chance to dream big, and it's a big deal. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Trustee.
Thank you, Mr. Ha. You give us so much information every time you come. I have two questions. You mentioned $1 million from the telescope revenues going towards education. With all the money that they're making, don't you think $1 million is a very small amount to spread across the Big Island for education? That's just one point. And then you mentioned another 50 million that it brings in income. Who's receiving that $50 million in income?
First, I'll take the 50 million.
Yeah.
That's from a UHERO report. You can just Google it and look at the report. It talks about the astronomy industry, and it explains
what's the report called?
UHERO and the benefit of astronomy to Hawaii's economy.
Okay, thank you.
And the other question, your first question was, what was it? Oh, the education fund.
Yeah.
You know how that happened? And I want to emphasize that the 30-meter telescope folks and the leadership is very unusual. They actually are trying to do the best thing they can do for the community. And the reason I know is because I know I've watched them, and I was very skeptical at the start. The reason they came down to $1 million a year education fund is because after about 15 meetings with the community, Henry Yang, the president of the 30-meter telescope committee, corporation, could see that after all the discussions, the lowest common denominator that everybody would agree to is KK education. And that's how that thing was formed. It was not formed as a trade or quid pro quo. Henry Yang, I gotta tell you, I was very skeptical. It didn't take me too long to realize that this person was somebody you could do business with on a handshake. The 30-meter telescope folks is the example that all companies wanting to come into Hawaii should emulate. They set a high bar. That's my opinion.